name is Dean. I was raised by parents who were deeply involved in their church, and they honored God by having me baptized as a child according to their tradition. They were my example of faithful Christians, and I wanted to follow their example as far as I could and worked towards entering ministry. When I was 13, my father was taken by an ambulance from our home late one night, and while my sister and I were waiting at home for our parents to come back, I laid on the floor reading the Bible. I reassured my sister that God would bring our father back home. And when he didn't come back home, I was angry with God because I couldn't understand why he didn't answer my prayer. When I was 17, some college-age members of our church who were born-again Christians led me to Christ. Through Bible study and teaching, I knew that Christ had died for my sins, and I was forgiven. Christ had taken my burden on himself and returned to God so that one day I could be there also. And I tried my best to witness to that. And as for my Christian friends and I, we eventually married or moved away to other churches, and our bond dissolved. I had a family, and 10 years later, I felt the call to ministry again. I enrolled in college to prepare for seminary. And after I graduated, a number of circumstances kept my home church from approving me to move towards seminary. But it was actually God correcting me because he knew that I was really being motivated by a lack of self-esteem. I thought being a pastor would give me respect. I thought I had never been treated with that before. Now I was angry with God again, and this time for not giving me what I felt I earned. When I met my wife, Lori, who has a personal relationship with Christ, we would go to a church that was Christ-centered, Bible-believing. I would cry during the songs because of the pain I felt. I was still so angry with the leaders of my former church for what I thought they had done to me. I let that anger keep me from my personal relationship with Christ. It took a long time and a lot of help from my wife to realize it was God who knew my heart and that ministry was where he knew I did not belong. We've had to move around a lot for my job, and last January I came home from work one day with news that we had to move again. I went to the bedroom and I knelt down and I prayed to God. I couldn't take it any longer. I reached my lowest point emotionally and spiritually, and I asked Christ to come back into my heart. And now I realized that he had never left, but that I had gotten tangled up in anger, and I only had to ask my shepherd to rescue me. Lori and I made each other a promise that when we moved here, we would find a church to go to that very first Sunday. Hillcrest was the first church we found on the internet that gave us all the information we needed to know that this is where God was leading us. In the last year, with the prayerful and spiritual guidance of so many here at Hillcrest, I learned the truth of our faith that I had hidden in my anger. That while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Freed from that anger, the memory of being saved when I was 17 came back to me. And when we first attended Hillcrest, I didn't understand adult baptism because the church I was raised in had practiced infant baptism. And now that I've heard the good news again of Christ in worship and in our grow group, I understand. I had never been baptized as a believer in Christ. And I share this with you now for the glory of God. Thank you.